going on, everyone? Welcome back to the CachedOut podcast. I'm your host, Silas, and it's been a little while. Things have been a little bit crazy, a little bit busy on my end. Finally had an opportunity to be able to sit down and record another episode of the podcast, and I'm planning to continue to be more consistent. We kind of had a season there where things were super busy with the business. We have some client work, we had some wedding stuff, we had a lot of little things going on here and there. So now it's at least got a little pocket of time where I can be able to catch up on some of the stories that I've missed, some of the things that I've experienced, and be able to condense it and bring it to you guys here. So definitely excited to be back. I did miss doing these. These are so much fun because it's such a different, I feel like the podcast from doing YouTube with the CachedOut channel to doing client work and other things. I just feel like the podcast is such a unique atmosphere, such a unique environment and opportunity to be able to just kind of speak your thoughts, kind of share what's on your mind and not really have to worry about the script. Because I guarantee you, I have some idea of where I want to go with this talk, with the talks today. I have a couple topics I want to cover, but it's not as directed as, and scripted as the YouTube videos are. So this is fun. This is definitely a fun little outlet for me, and I appreciate you guys listening to it. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and definitely excited to continue to bring out some more content. And we're going to do a little bit more of a shift. I think we're going to do a little bit of a tilt in terms of the content of the podcast and also what's going on the CachedOut channel. So we're going to focus a little bit more just in terms of specifically giving some tips for creators, for people that are content creators, that are videographers, photographers, creatives, whatever your avenue is. We're going to focus more on giving you tips on how to be able to not only just create quality content, but also be profitable with your content. So this is something that I've been discovering and learning a lot about, and have actually had some breakthroughs in, and I think it'll be really cool as we go along this journey together of continuing to grow as creatives. So I'll be able to share some of the things that I'm figuring out, some of the things that I'm learning, and also be able to help you guys move forward if you're just getting started and learning a little bit more about how to not only create quality content in terms of the videography, the photography, all those kind of things, but also to be able to profit from it and also market it properly. So keep an eye out for that. We got a little bit of a shift coming in how we're creating content. And I think it's just really in terms of the experiences that we've been able to gain in terms of where we're at in life with our company, with CachedOut, with Shot City Media, which is one of our parent companies to CachedOut. So a lot of just good things that are going on, a lot of breakthroughs that are going on. So definitely excited to be able to share that. So today I had a few topics that I wanted to hit on. Mainly, they're really just going to be more experiential. Some of my experience with Apple's new updates in terms of the macOS 13 update and the iOS 16 updates. And oh my gosh, I got some stuff to talk about with those two. So we'll start off with that one. And then also wanted to hit on the difference in my experience between the Canon R3 and the Canon R6. And I think Canon just recently came out with the R6 Mark II, and the Canon R3 has just been a freaking amazing camera. I just did a couple videos about it on the CachedOut channel, just talking about the experience with those two for photo and video. So we'll talk a little bit more about those, a little bit more kind of relaxed approach to that here on the podcast today. And then we'll cover just a couple news stories, just some points, some things that I saw that I thought were pretty interesting. Or actually, it's just one news story, just one thing that I saw that was interesting. So, but this will be good. I'm definitely excited to be able to get back into it. So let's go ahead and kick it off here. We'll talk about the macOS 13 and the iOS 16 updates. I have a very... I guess I don't know how to describe it, a very strong love-hate relationship with Apple and their current software. I love the Apple ecosystem. I've talked a little bit about this in the past. I love the ability to be able to get my text messages, to be able to get everything on whatever device I'm on, whether that's on my MacBook, whether that's on my iPad, or whether that's on my iPhone. I love that the connection, the ability to be able to just go seamlessly from one device to another and have everything in one hand. And it's been phenomenal over the past actually a good number of years. It's been phenomenal, but I'll say over the past several years, it's gotten really bad in terms of the quality control. I feel like every time that Apple has done an update, whether it's on the Mac, whether it's on the iPhone, I feel like every time there's been an update, it's ruined functionality that I really appreciated and I liked. And that's one of the big things I know with tech is really making sure that whenever you're making an upgrade, you want to make sure that the upgrade is not breaking core functionality that made people like your product in the first place, right? I'm cool with new features. I'm a sucker for new features, trust me. Any new bell and whistle, I am excited to get get my hands on and see what it's like, but not at the expense of the one thing that I cared most about, which is your software, your program, your technology working the way that it's supposed to. So with Mac and just Apple in general over the past few years, I feel like every update, starting for me personally, it was with macOS 12. When macOS 12 came on, basically my Bluetooth went to crap. It went from working great to total crap. And I've talked about that in the past. I've done a video on that already. But with macOS 13, I wanted to upgrade because, I mean, at this point, it's already ruined my experience by upgrading to 12. So I'm just like, whatever, just keep it updated. Let's go ahead and see what this has to offer. I looked at some of the new features and I was like, yeah, it's okay. Nothing on macOS 13 really just like popped out to me like, gosh, I gotta have that. I think one of the new features is being able to use your iPhone as a camera for video calls, whether it's like Zoom or something like that, which is cool. You know, that's all well and good, but it's like, I mean, I have a camera that I use for video calls anyway. I have an actual camera, so I could care less about using my phone. But the fact that once I upgraded it, there are a few things that I guess went to crap even more once I upgraded to 13. So I have them listed here. I wanted to make sure I kind of hit on them. And the first thing that really kind of went bad already was just the delay in the programs opening, like whether it's Safari, whether it's Notepad, whether it's my emails. As soon as I upgraded to 13, there was a lag. I had to like click multiple times, not just once to open up my email or whatever. I had to click a couple times and wait for it to open. And then when it opens, it was super slow. And I thought this would just be something that was kind of like a hiccup when I first upgraded, but it's continued and it's become spotty. Like they opened up faster the longer it's been since I upgraded, but it continues. There'll be some times where if I have my email open, I have my text messages open, and I decide to open up a notes, it lags. And I don't have a slow computer. I have an M1 Mac. It does editing. It does all the good stuff. So it has enough power, and I know that for a fact. But the software, whatever they do to it, I mean, with those upgrades, I don't know what they do to it, but it's become very laggy and not as responsive as I'd like. And I've also noticed some latency in terms of my mouse. I have a really good Bluetooth mouse. Actually, it's the Logi MX Master 3. Really good. It has very ergonomic. Love it. I have it on here for the folks on the video podcast, kind of showing. I don't know if you can see it that well, but it's a super comfortable mouse. Really good. I haven't had any issues with it. Didn't have any issues with it when I was on macOS 12, didn't have any issues with it when I was on the previous versions. But once we went to 13, I started noticing some latency in terms of the Bluetooth performance with it. So I'm like, why? Why are these little things coming up every time we upgrade? Like the upgrade should improve, not ruin the things that we already like. So that was one thing. The other thing that I noticed is some of my dock items got removed when I upgraded to 13. Not a huge deal. I can just resave them again. So I wasn't too worked up about that. But the one thing that really has been a bothersome side of things has been my iMessages. And my iMessages have been completely out of sync ever since I upgraded both my iPhone to iOS 16 and my MacBook to macOS 13. Once I did that upgrade, I don't know what went wrong, but first of all, my iMessages stopped syncing to iCloud. That got turned off automatically. And then once I turned it back on, they don't upload. They don't upload to the cloud. So now I have situations where people will message me, and then one message will stay on my MacBook. It'll show up on my MacBook, but it'll never show up on my phone. So I'll go through times where clients have reached out to me and they send me an iMessage where I should get it, but I don't see it for like another, couple hours or maybe another day by the time I check it on my tablet or my MacBook or whatever, because it never came through on my phone. So my iMessages being out of sync has really been a bothersome thing to me, because that's the lifeline. That's the lifeline of our business. We need to be able to communicate and communicate effectively. And if people are trying to reach out to me, people are trying to touch base with me, or if I'm reaching out to people, I don't know if other people are going through the same thing, where if I shoot them a text or send them something and I think that I communicated to them and they never hear from me, and now we have issues there just because our computer software is not working the way that it should be. So not a huge fan. So far, I have not been a huge fan of some of the upgrades in terms of macOS and iOS 13 or macOS 13 and iOS 16. And I really feel like, and I've talked about this for a while, but I really feel like Apple's quality control is just bad. Like I don't know what else to say. It's just really bad. Like I want to stick with them. I feel like the ecosystem is phenomenal, but if it continues to be bad, if it continues to just be like all the good things that I like are not operating the way that it should be every time we upgrade, then I don't know. You might have to switch up and go with someone that's more reliable. But we'll see. I haven't gotten to that point yet, so I'm still giving them a chance. I'm still keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that things continue to take a turn for the better. But yeah, so far my experience with the new software has not been phenomenal. Right, this has not been that great. So. That's a little bit of my rant. Now, that's the downside. That's been the downsides in terms of the software update. But let's talk about maybe the good side of things. And I'll say the good side of it is that some of the key applications for my day-to-day use have been working properly. So that's a plus side. That's a huge plus side. When I updated my MacBook, DaVinci, oops. Oh, I just smacked my mic here. But when I updated my MacBook, DaVinci Resolve, Luminar AI, which are the softwares that I use for editing for photos and video, they both work perfectly fine. Resolve started having a few hiccups when I updated it to a different version, to version 18, but that's not a Mac issue. That's just a Resolve issue. But the programs that are crucial to my functionality and a day-to-day business running are working fine. So that's a plus. But the other features in terms of like just the lag, the delay, the out of sync iMessages, those kind of things, very frustrating. And hopefully moving down the road to future upgrades, this will be resolved. I hope. I really hope so. So that's my topic for today in terms of the Mac upgrade. Not super impressed with it so far, but hopefully it'll get better as we go here. Now the next topic that I wanted to hit on was a little bit of a camera talk here. I wanted to cover my experience so far with the Canon R3 compared to the Canon R6. The Canon R3 is Canon's current flagship camera. This Canon camera is phenomenal. I use it typically during the day. I'll do hybrid photography, so I'll do photography and videography for clients. So we'll be cases where we'll be doing photos and then we'll need to switch over and do video for that client as well. And having a camera that's reliable, that's solid, that can easily handle both without a ton of accommodation is a huge thing. It's a huge deal for me and my workflow and my day-to-day work. So I got the Canon R3 because this camera, just from the specs, when I first saw it, it just fit the bill. It didn't have any overheating issues. It can shoot 6K, it can shoot high quality 4K, it can shoot RAW. I mean, the list just goes on. It literally can shoot 30 frames per second in photography, and this thing is just a monster on the spec sheet, right? So I was excited to get my hands on it, and once I did, I really was blown away. I mean, the camera really lives up to the hype, and very few cameras, very few pieces of tech actually live up to the hype. Sometimes you'll see something and the spec sheet looks incredible, but once you get your hands on it, you're like, maybe I could have been fine without it. But the R3, I'll have to say, definitely lives up to the hype, and especially for us in my business and what I do during the day as a full-time photographer and videographer, this is crucial. It's absolutely crucial, and it does the job, and it's reliable. So my experience with it has just been fantastic. I mean, one of my favorite things about it too, there's a couple of favorite features, but really one of the things that I like about the design and the feel of the R3 is the grip. And I talked about this in the video. The grip of this camera is just like, it feels so good. Like, it feels so right. It's like you grab that camera and you're just like, man, I just want to take a picture of something, right? It's one of those things that it's awesome. It's very nicely done by Canon. You can grab it with the horizontal grip or the vertical grip, and either way it feels great. You can hit the shutter button on no matter what perspective you have it on. You can easily hit the shutter on that, and the shooting, just the handling, everything about this camera is just fantastic. Like, I really haven't found a negative about this camera. I've used it for months now, and I haven't found a negative about this camera. It just works super well. So comparing that with my experience with the R6, and really obviously the biggest difference is going to start off with the price point. The R6, I think it's like $2,400, and the R3 runs retail at like $5,900. Now you can get it cheaper, obviously shop around and all that, but I would say that price difference is absolutely justified. justified. That's something that you need. If you have a business purpose for getting the R3, then definitely get it. But if you don't, then don't waste your money. You can get two R6s for that price. You can be able to get something else for that price. But if you need the kind of reliability, the kind of quality, and the kind of ability that the R3 provides, then that price difference is totally justified. I would not bat an eye to pay that price for this camera. After getting it, I'm like, man, yeah, this is absolutely worth it. And really just for like the overheating aspect of it, that alone is such a huge win, because comparing these two, the R6, I got the R3 before Canon put out the recent update where they helped resolve some of the overheating issues. It's not completely resolved, but it's a lot better than it was when the R6 first came out. So the overheating was kind of the biggest turnoff for me when I was using the R6. I really had to make accommodations for a while in order to work around the overheating. I had to be able to use like the Atomos Ninja recorder to be able to bypass the overheating issues. In terms of just battery life, like I basically had to rig it out. I had to put like a 3-pound battery on top of a rig to be able to use the R6 reliably and have the power to be able to last through a full shoot. Typically a shoot will last maybe 4 to 8 hours depending on what's going on, and the R6 with just a regular battery was not going to make it through that whole shoot in terms of doing photo and video. So I would say in terms of just reliability, the R3 battery life is incredible. I rarely have to think about recharging the battery on this thing. I'll do a couple of shoots without even worrying about it, and then in terms of overheating, that's not even a thought. I couldn't overheat this camera. I would really have to work really hard to overheat this camera. It just keeps going. It keeps going, and it's shooting high quality 4K footage, high quality 6K footage, and there's no overheating at all. And it's not something that I have to make any accommodations for. Really, my kit got smaller once I got the R3 because I didn't need to bring the Atomos Ninja. I didn't need to bring the 3-pound battery or the rig to be able to rig up the R6 in order to keep it going throughout the whole day. So it really saved a lot of room, saved a lot of time, and that's huge when it comes to running a business. You have to be efficient, you have to be effective. So the experience with just that, with not having to deal with overheating and not having to deal with low power, I mean, that's incredible. And it's just funny because one of the things like I've talked about, there's very few things that I don't like about the R3, but the one thing that I didn't talk about this in a video, I totally forgot about it. The one thing that I don't like about the Canon R3 is the fact that they don't have 2 CFast Express card slots. Now that sounds weird, right? Because the CFast Express are actually more expensive than regular SD cards. The CFast Express cards are a little bit bigger than regular SD cards, but they are totally worth the upgrade from regular SD cards, because with as fast as this Canon R3 is in terms of shooting photos with a 30 frames per second and electronic shutter and the high quality of footage that it can capture in video mode, you need a card that can keep up with that. And the regular SD cards, just when I've had both, I've actually tested it out to see if the CFast Express card actually makes a difference when I'm shooting video and photo with the R3, and it totally does. The read and write speeds of the CFast Express cards is incredible. It's lightning fast compared to the regular SD card. And I don't have the cheap SD cards. I typically use the Sony Tough brand of SD cards, and they have great read and write speeds, but when comparing it to the CFast Express cards, they don't even keep up. It's amazing what big of a difference that makes. And when you're shooting 4K, high quality 4K and 6K footage and a ton of photos so fast, you want to make sure that card reader can keep up with that. And Sony, not Sony, I got Sony on my brain, but Canon, that cripple hammer, I mean, they just like not just giving you everything. I feel like they constantly just take their cameras, they make them so good, like nearly perfect, and then they just take a sledgehammer and just whack it right in the knee, right? They tend to just cripple their cameras, and I don't understand why. But for me, I feel like the biggest, I guess one of the bigger limitations with the R3 is that they have one CFast Express card slot and one SD card slot. So you have a card slot, you have a card, basically a memory card platform with a CFast Express that basically is lightning fast. Outside of the price point, for people that are doing this professionally, at some point you kind of have to just look at value over cost, right? Because a lot of times you can write it off, you can figure out the cost, because if it helps you bring more business, the value of that tool is more important than the cost of it, right? So why not just put two CFast Express card slots instead of one CFast Express and one SD card slot? That thing just really didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, why did they do that? That was one of the most annoying things that they've done, because I would rather have the extra speed, I would rather have the extra space that the CFast Express cards provide than just having an SD card as a backup. So that part of it really kind of turned me off in terms of what they did with the R3. But it's a little thing in the grand scheme of things. It's not a huge deal. The one CFast Express card, if you get a big one, can last you for a while. You don't really have to think about running out of space on that. But it's just one of those that I'm like, man, why limit it? Why not just put everything into your freaking camera and just let it run at full capacity? So Canon, please stop crippling your camera. So overall, I would say my experience with the R3 has been incredible. Like, that's probably been the best camera that I've shot with in a very long time. I've had tons of different cameras that I've used. I've shot Sony, I've shot some Nikon cameras, but the Canon R3 has probably been just like, the feel of that camera, the experience of shooting it is just fantastic. So I'll say it's been a blast. It's been a blast. Using it for portrait session, using it for event photography and videography. It's all been super good. So definitely love that camera. It's probably going to be in my bag for a very long time. It's one of those that once you find a camera that really works well with you, there's no reason for me to get rid of it, and unless something comes along that totally blows this out of the water, which is going to be hard to find because, this thing, they've really loaded it up. So it's going to be hard to beat that. But unless something like that comes along, I'm not going to be getting rid of this camera anytime soon. So that's it for camera talk for now, right? That's what I wanted to hit on that just because it was on my mind. But wanted to cover a news story. Actually, it was a story maybe a few months ago, but Motion Array is going to be joining the Artlist group, and they're going to be able to become Artlist Max. So Artlist, if you're not familiar with it, is basically a place to be able to get royalty-free music to be able to use in your videos. And the music on Artlist is fantastic. I've used them for, going on about 4 years now, and they've been incredible. They provide high-quality songs. The tracks, the artists, they vet them really well. So whenever you get on there and you're looking for music to be able to use on your videos, you're going to find high-quality music on Artlist. I have not been disappointed with them. I've used different services. I've used Epidemic. I've used, I forgot what the other one was, Soundstripe, maybe. I don't know. I've bounced around. Obviously, I've bounced around to different music programs, but I've always come back to Artlist, and they have the perfect balance of high quality music and really affordable, and I would say like stress-free licensing aspect of it. Now, music licensing is tricky, it's complicated, but Artlist does a really good job. Really, based on the subscription package that you choose, you can basically get a license if you're doing a lot of commercial work. For me, I do a combination of social media, but I also do contract work, I do client work, I do commercial work. So this is a license that can allow me to be able to cover all the bases that I need with just one license without having to worry and be concerned about whether this particular use is covered. I just know that if I got it from Artlist with my current subscription with them, everything is good to go. And they also give you that license that you can download and save the PDF just in case you need it for your files or whatever. So really good company. I have nothing but praise for Artlist. They haven't let me down. And I've been using Motion Array just to be able to help me in terms of getting some templates for DaVinci Resolve, whether it's like some stock footage, some different templates to be able to use in terms of like intro graphics and call outs and things like that, just to be able to save myself time, because a lot of times you don't have the time to be able to physically build out every single graphic element in a video. So using Motion Array has really been awesome. But I saw it on the news, and I also got an email notification that the Motion Array was joining the Artlist group, and they are launching Artlist Max. And Artlist Max is kind of a cool combination of the two companies, because with Motion Array, obviously you're going to be able to bring in like the templates, the plugins, and be able to add that aspect of it, the footage, and bring that to the table with what Artlist has already brought to the table. So it's kind of like combining two services. For me personally, is combining two services that I'm already paying for independently and putting them into one like super package, if you will. So with Artlist, obviously you got the royalty-free music, and I also forgot to mention that they also also offer sound effects and also stock footage. So the stock footage is also on Artlist as well as on Motion Array, so you can kind of get it from both of them. But it's really cool that now it's all going to be under one roof. And the Artlist Max subscription, I think it's going to be about $400 and something per year. Which if you're doing Artlist with the royalty-free music and also the sound effects, you're kind of getting into around like the $299 range, so about $300 and some change already. So with an extra $100, you're basically getting all the templates, you're getting the plugins, and you're also getting access to HitFilm. If you don't have an editing software, you're going to be able to get access to HitFilm as part of that package there. So when I saw this, it was actually looks very cool. It's a cool approach to it because, as I mentioned, Artlist is already a stable company on its own. It's already doing really good work. I mean, they're doing really well. And now to bring in Motion Array and be able to put in that element in terms of like the templates and the plugins and the HitFilm access is one thing that I haven't seen others provide. Adobe obviously is just going to tax you for every little thing. So you're going to be paying a monthly subscription for every little thing with it. But with Artlist, at least I feel like you're getting more bang for your buck on here. So I really like that idea. Just seeing them kind of combine is funny because I got the email maybe about a month ago and they were giving out it was like a contest to be able to sign up with your email and you're able to be entered in for a free 1-year subscription to Artlist Max. So I signed up for it just so, who knows, if I win it, and I get to try out for free. But unfortunately, I got the email telling me that I didn't, but I think they gave us a discount since we're already subscribers to be able to upgrade to Max. So I'm not sure if I'll do it right off the bat. I'll have to see what the pricing comes out to be in terms of an annual cost. Annually, I think it'll probably save me money doing it with Artlist Max compared to paying for Motion Array independently and then the Artlist subscriptions that I have independently. I think combining it will save me money down the road, but I haven't done the math on that yet. But just from the rough stuff that I was thinking in my head, it does sound good. So far, I think they just launched Artlist Max this month. Yeah, I think they launched it on Black Friday, which was yesterday. Oh my gosh, it's amazing how 2022 is just blowing by. But yeah, so this is live and you can upgrade and take advantage of it now. I'll definitely test it out, and I just thought it was really cool to see those two companies come together because they're two companies, two separate websites that I've already been using, and it's neat seeing them come together and actually create a subscription package that adds value to creators. I feel like a lot of times some different companies will create packages or they'll put stuff together that really doesn't benefit the end consumer. A lot of times it's stuff that makes sense for them, that makes sense to pad their bottom line, but it doesn't really help you as a creator in terms of being able to easily create better content and be able to find the resources that you need to do that easier. And this is one that I truly believe it's something that'll be really good. And from everything that I'm seeing and what it has to offer, I feel like Artlist and Motion Array have done a bang up job with this one right here. So anyway, that's all I have for today, guys. Just wanted to share a little bit, kind of get back into the podcast groove, and definitely will be having more podcasts coming out a lot quicker. I mean, gosh, I think honestly it's been like maybe 3 or 4 months. I don't know. It's been a little while since I put out a last podcast, so I'll have to check on that. But I promise I'll be a lot better with it now, that guaranteed. But once things pick up in terms of the business side of things, in terms of the wedding season, once that picks back up, I can't guarantee anything in terms of that. But for now, until then, I will try to do my best to be able to have regular podcasts put out for CachedOut here. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Loved hanging out with you. Loved kind of sharing a little bit of my thoughts and some of the things that are going on, a little bit of my rants in terms of what I haven't liked, but definitely we'll have some more cool stuff coming up next time. So thanks for joining, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy.